Oh, welcome aboard to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Hope you guys are having a great day. It just seems like it's been a good week all of a sudden, joined by my good friend, Dustin Schutte, sitting in as always. We'll be looking forward to Chris Denari joining us. The Pacers, Karis LeVert has joined them, and his stint is off and running. Hopefully we'll be talking to Matt Taylor, as I saw that a particular quarterback has officially joined the Indianapolis Colts. I sent a text to Matt and said, well, wow, what timing is that? Because how long has this been now, Dustin?
It's been at least 2 or 3 weeks now, because it seems like each time, we've discussed this, it's been like, well, maybe we can talk to him about it next week. Well, maybe next week. Maybe, and then it just keeps going down the line. I think it's happened at least, 2 or 3 weeks now. It feels like an eternity, but Colts have their guy, man, and that's an exciting time because, we'll see what happens. But as we've talked about, we'll talk again, that, this is a plug-and-play type of team. This is a team with a lot of talent and a team that can make a deep playoff run. So it's exciting that they finally have their guy and somebody in place.
Yeah, and it'd be nice to be able to talk about it because we haven't been able to do that with Matt Taylor, the voice of the Colts, because until things are official, you can't. If you're a member of the organization, you can't. This is like we can't talk about certain things with IU until they tell us it's okay to. But one thing that we don't have to worry about is the search for the next head basketball coach. And that is going to continue. But I think that is a 2-man race. And as much as it doesn't seem possible, I think that this is going to be, I think Indiana's next basketball coach will undoubtedly be either Brad Stevens or Chris Beard. And that sounds like the greatest wish list ever. I don't think it's a wish list. I'm telling you, Scott Dolson. No, it's not just Scott Dolson, but Scott Dolson, he's the ramrod of this. But the donors, the people, they're tired of it. It's done. It's over. These mistakes, these moves, these guesses, it's done. That's over. It's done. I've said it all week. No margin for error. Zero margin for error on this hire. And that's why it will be Brad Stevens or Chris Beard. Scott Dolson has the bankroll to make this happen. And he has the cojones to make this happen. I think he is the guy to make this happen, and it will happen. I am, and that is not because someone has told me that. I've been thinking that. I was thinking it was more likely going to be Chris Beard. I didn't think that they would be able to pry. Oh, daggone it. Who the hell are we talking about? Brad Stevens, away from the NBA, not Boston, but the NBA. I mean, it's the pinnacle, and he's there. And it's not like they're not having a great run necessarily, but it's possible too. He's very possible. It is not impossible. I'm telling you, one of those two guys will be the next head coach.
The thing to me about Brad Stevens is, obviously he's gonna, when he goes on these talk shows, you can't really read much into this stuff because he's not going to go on a radio show and say, yeah, my plan is to take the job at IU if they come at me with a lucrative offer. He's not going to say that. And he's not going to tell reporters that he's thinking about another job. So, you have to kind of take what he's saying with a grain of salt. At the same time, what you got to remember, too, is NBA coaches generally don't leave a job in the middle of the season. So then that becomes, do you have a guarantee from Brad Stevens he would do something at the end of the year and you're going to have an interim head coach for 3 months? I don't see that happening. Or is he saying, you know what, at this certain point, I'm going to leave the Celtics and I'll take the job at Indiana? I don't know. I think Chris Beard is the more likely. I wouldn't rule Brad Stevens out just because of the way he's talked about Indiana the last, handful of days. He's, calling it home, and he grew up, it was all about IU and this, that, and the other. And so I wouldn't rule it out. I think this is probably his best a shot as Indiana has had at getting Brad Stevens. But again, you're talking about a Boston team that's in a playoff hunt. They've gotten progressively better under his leadership. I don't know if he'll leave or not, but it's the hard part for me is he would have to leave in the middle of the season, and I don't know if that's going to be possible or not. Plus, he's got the support from Danny Ainge up in Boston, so that's another thing. You know you have the support from your boss, so that I mean he's an interesting character. It's going to be interesting to keep an eye on him, but I do think Chris Beard is the much more likely candidate, and I think he's probably the one more likely to take the job.
Dean Garrett will be on tomorrow. I know that doesn't help you for today, but just let you know. We're working on something really big for tonight. And I'll probably talk about it before the show's over, but man, I'm waiting to get the names confirmed. But we're working on putting together something tonight around 9:00 to lead into the UCLA MSU match between Dane Fife and Michael Lewis.
And 9:57 tip, isn't it?
Scheduled.
Ugh.
Scheduled.
Yeah, exactly.
Scheduled.
Exactly.
Yeah, you get that word scheduled in there, which means it ain't starting at 9:57.
We talked to Chris Denari. I'm going to have to see what his tips are for staying up for those late. He's coming off those West Coast tips where the Pacers played at 10:30 and 10:40. I might have to ask for his input on what I'm going to have to do to stay up that late.
They were in New York last night, weren't they?
They played Brooklyn at home, so they were actually at home.
Oh, it was at home. They were home last night.
Over the weekend, they were at with the Lakers and then in Phoenix. So they had late tip-offs.
Tim says the media keeps saying IU paid to buy. I have never heard any media say that. When you say the media, I'm guessing you may be talking about Facebook. That is not coming because the media is not saying that. I've never heard anybody in the media say that. So tell me who you're talking about specifically. I'd like to see that because it's not the media saying that. A donor paid the buyout. A donor will provide resources for the next coach, which means resources to pay his buyout, whatever that may be. And I don't know what all it covers, but there are at least two donors. But the first donor covered getting rid of Archie. The other donor is taking care of bringing in Chris Beard or Brad Stevens. No one is, let's see. I thought we would hear Billy. Thank God that name died. No, Billy Donovan's name has stopped surfacing now with the coaches. And no, Dosen is not backdooring with Knight because Knight, people would realize Bob Knight is not, I don't know that he even how much he communicates with people anymore. No. I mean, anyone. So that's a sad deal, but yeah, that's where that is.
Yeah, that's not an Indiana thing. That's not an Indiana Bob Knight thing either. That's a health thing.
Let's see. I've heard WIBC lead. It was the school, and then clearly the donors. Yeah, let me tell you, it's just the donors, man. I don't understand. It is, and this doesn't even matter. I don't mean why this is even a discussion now, but yes, it was donors. That's why that's the only way this happened. I remember early on the reason I was saying and that it wasn't going to happen is because there was no way in the hell Michael McRobbie was going to sign off on this. He's on his way out the door. He doesn't care about sports. There was no way he's signing off on a $10.5 million buyout on his way out. But donors covered it. So it cost the school zip. He could not say no almost. He didn't really have a choice. The Board of Trustees would have stepped in at that point because not only did that cost them nothing to cover that, the other donor is helping them cover, let's say Chris Beard. He's got a $15 million buyout, but he's got a caveat in that. If it's an out-of-state team, it drops to half. So that's convenient.
That is convenient.
And that will fit right in to a package that I've been told has been offered to one of these two. And money is not going to, that's why I keep saying it's going to be one of these two guys. Money is not going to be an option. Money is not going to be the reason Brad Stevens turns it down if he does. It will not be money because his offer will be substantially more than what he is currently making in Boston, or Boston will have to match that. Chris Beard would not, I don't see there's any way he would turn down the offer that I am thinking that is out there. Not to him. But you mentioned the thing about Stevens, he's an NBA coach, man. They go into June. You're not, there's no way you can, unless you have an answer, unless you know for a fact. And then there's no way in hell you can sit on that. And then that becomes a circus in Boston, and then and blah, 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 blah. And that's how all that stuff, it never works out, man.
Right.
I don't, yeah, that's going to be a weird situation.
And that's why I think it's less likely, because he seems to be happy in Boston. Again, you never know, because he's not going to come out and just say, yeah, I'm taking the job at IU. But he seems happy in Boston. There's a lot of caveats and benefits, I would call them, to coaching in the NBA. Part of that is you don't have to recruit 24/7. I mean, just think of what you would have to do if you don't make a hire until May or June or whatever it is. I mean, you're talking about you're losing precious recruiting months, and especially in May and June, the NCAA may lift that pause on recruiting visits and such. So that's why
it has been lifted. That has been lifted.
But it starts in May or June, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry. I thought you said if. I'm sorry.
No, yeah. So when that's when it's going to be lifted, and so you're talking about losing some possible recruits. You're losing recruiting opportunities. So that's why I think that's less likely. But again, he also could be not fed up, but he may see, you know what, I want to go back to Indiana. I want to go back to the college game. It was more enjoyable. Whatever the case might be, you never know. You never know what these guys are thinking. But I could beat a dead horse with that. But that's my opinion as to why Stevens seems like the less likely of the two options. But you never know.
Well, no, because he has not. Yeah, we got to hit a break, but he has not absolutely refused that. He's not said that. Absolutely not. He was asked on a radio station, so you're not quitting no, I'm not. Well, no, he wasn't that day. He wasn't at that moment. He's telling the truth. And he is not even pretending like he's not telling the truth, because it is absolutely the truth. There has been no offer made to him when that question was posed to him. Now that could change today, yesterday, tomorrow. A different question is posed to him and a different answer could come. That's the thing. It's a fluid situation. I'm not all jacked up about it. The fans are. I'm like, I'm cool. Just wait. I don't care. Me getting all jacked up is not going to change anything. And would I love to be the person that broke the story? Yeah, but guess what? You think people are going to remember that? Hell no. They don't care who's the first to report this. Nobody cares. So I'm not putting all my energy into all that. It's just too much. But we got to hit a break. I got so far behind yesterday with Steve Green, man. We had just an incredible conversation. But we got plenty more comments, plenty more to get to. Chris Denari of the Pacers is joining us. Matt Taylor of the Colts going to join us as well. And we got plenty to get to today. Thanks for listening. And we'll be back to the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. Hey, we all want more, and no one gives you more for less than Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. Oh, mama. Whoa. Yeah, it's just and Chris Beard is coaching in Assembly Hall this weekend.
I know.
Not only Chris Beard and Kelvin Sampson.
Calvin Sampson, baby. I liked your. I don't know if you put this on Facebook or on Twitter or what, but I like that the Kelvin Samsung song. I thought that was clever.
The what?
Kelvin Samsung. Didn't you post that on Facebook?
Kelvin Samsung?
Like the mobile company, the old mobile company.
Oh, I did not. I wish I'd have thought of that. I was not that smart. Oh my God, that's freaking funny. Damn
I
it.
thought it came off of I swore it came off of one of the sports feeds.
If I did it, it was a mistake. Damn it. I wish I did make that mistake. That would have been funny as hell.
Maybe it auto-corrected. And it was a happy accident.
Yeah, that would have been funny.
I'm going to look now. I'm going to look back the last few days and see.
Dane Fife's name, I don't see it. I've just not seen it. I know everybody kept batting it around. No, that's not a home run hire.
I feel like he would have, if he was interested in another job, he would have taken one by now.
Well, no, because Indiana's not any other job. Indiana's where he played.
Well, I understand that. But
I think Indiana's the only other job he would take, maybe besides the Michigan job, because he's a Michigan guy. His family's there. He's been there for 9 years now, and I'm like, dude's not leaving. But if he was offered the IU job, he would have taken it. But other than that, he's not leaving Michigan State. I think Indiana's the only place.
I've said for like 3 or 4 years now, I think that Dane Fife I think he's going to be the next Michigan State head coach.
Of course. That's what he's waiting for. Yeah. That's why I'm like going, why? He's not going to come to Indiana to be the coach in waiting. He's already got that.
World-class golfing, and a premier resort experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick, West Baden.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sillersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
It just takes some time, little girl in the middle of the ride.
All right, welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday. Man, this has been a whirlwind week. It has just been busy. Man, we had St. Patrick's Day yesterday. I didn't even hardly mention that on the show. It was just like funny. But I hope everyone's having a good day. And it's just so funny that it's like a weight has been lifted off. A cloud has lifted. I hate to say that, but man, Archie Miller had brought it down. You've got all this success raging around the Bloomington campus with football and women's basketball and women's soccer and men's baseball. All those programs ranked or in those elite. And it didn't matter because this thing was bringing them down so much. But now it's about to do a reverse. And I'm telling you, I keep getting in my mind, and I've said, man, it's a lot more fun to cover a winner. I'm just giddy. I'm giddy thinking about getting to cover IU over the next 4 or 5 years on what could be. I mean, an athletics juggernaut. You get this basketball program back, and it's Katie bar the door. If the football program is competing in the Big East like they're going to be this year, and all those other things that I just said, holy hell. It'll be freaking nuts. It will be absolutely nuts because that is something that has never happened in Bloomington in the history of this university. Never, ever, ever. And that's big stuff. That happens when that happens, it's an explosion because Indiana is one of the smaller schools in the Big Ten. It will be a gigantic explosion, a fun one, but it will be an explosion of joy.
I I keep going back to what Matt Taylor said a couple weeks ago, and we didn't get to expound on this because he had to run. But he made the comment that there's no reason Indiana University, their athletic program in men's basketball and football, can't be similar to Wisconsin. And that's almost what you're talking about at that point. If you get a good head basketball coach and somebody that can compete and keep Indiana in the top 4 or 5 every year. I know that Indiana football is probably not going to be top 4 or 5 every single year in the Big Ten, but if you're consistently going to bowl games and every couple of years competing at the top of the Big Ten East, I mean that's still something that's never been accomplished in Bloomington, and so that's what I think that there's a lot of excitement. And you mentioned people getting jacked up and excited for Brad Stevens, and but at the same time, this is the most excited people have been about Indiana basketball in a while, because the product on the floor, it's not been something people have looked forward to. It's like you're dragging yourself to the television set because you know what the outcome's going to be. And even if it's a good outcome, you're like, I don't know how we're going to sustain this through the rest of the season. So to me, this is like the most fun time you've had in like 2 or 3 years at least. There was some excitement when Archie Miller was first hired, but the last 2-3 seasons, it's just not been there. And so this is why it's so much fun, because not only are you looking forward to basketball season, but hey, football teams in spring, they have a potential to be the number 2 team in the Big Ten East, maybe the number 1 team in the Big Ten East if they can knock off Ohio State. So there's some big things happening right now.
Yes, there are, and the biggest is the tournament starts tonight, and I can't wait, man. Looking forward. I think this is going to be a spectacular tournament. I think these games are going to be tremendous. The tournament's always great. Don't want to ignore this comment. Tori said Dane Fife is the pick. He understands culture and coaches, and I don't agree. He does agree. He does understand the culture, no doubt. I don't think that he's the pick. I think that this is a job you get a proven winner for only. It's an A+1 job. I don't care that they've been in the dumps, that they've not performed like they should have performed over the last however long. But that's because they had the wrong people in place that put the wrong people in place. That's over. And that's about to end. I don't know why it took this long. Taking this long, it really makes you shake your head, because there's on God's green earth, there's no reason other than complete idiocy. I mean, it is a long string of idiotic moves, and that's just the easiest way to say it. You had the wrong people, put the wrong people in position to hire the wrong people. And that has just been over and over. It's just been the Indiana way for so long until now. But do you know why it's changing? Because it's so stinking bad when you do it that way. It makes you so sick to your stomach finally that you utterly just can't stand it anymore. And that's the point that they finally had to get to make this happen, unfortunately. But it's going to happen. I guarantee you that stuff is over. It begins now.
And one of the things that I think, to me, if I'm Dane Fife, and clearly I'm not, but one of the things that I would think would be somewhat of a detractor, like when you have your name and you are in good standing with a program like Indiana, it almost seems like, you know what, I had my time at Indiana. I don't want to go back and be, ostracized because I couldn't get the job done at Indiana. I know how passionate the fan base is. I know that if I'm not successful, I might be out in 3 to 5 years. So to me, I think his time at Indiana I could be completely wrong, but I think it's done. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think that when you know that the expectations are so high, why would you want to go back and potentially not have that success and not be viewed in the same light at Indiana? I think he loves Indiana. I think he loved his time there. He's still a kind of a fan favorite. And I just think he's saying, you know what, that chapter of my life is over. I'm happy where I'm at here at Michigan State. And so that's why, to me, I think it's more of a Dane Fife situation, not wanting to do that job. And that's why I think he wasn't offered the position when Archie Miller was offered the position. But, like we said, you never know what's going to happen. You never know. But I just don't see him leaving his situation in Michigan State because he's in a pretty good spot up in East Lansing.
Yeah, and like I said, he's a Michigan guy. Forrest says no one knows a damn thing except for Dolson, a few people close. Well, that's true, very true, and that we're not going to hear until the announcement is made. Nothing officially, but I promise you that stuff you cannot prevent leaks. You can't, because you got two organizations, you got too many people involved, and it becomes a gigantic story on the other side. If this is in Boston, you've got three times as many people in Boston than here trying to get that information. And I promise you, they've got three times as many contacts. It'll start leaking out. But yeah, nothing officially. But the truth is that everything is speculation. This is all speculation. No doubt. But it's on my part, or some of these parts, it's speculation of knowledge, some inside knowledge, but it's all, at the end of the day, all speculation. And I continue to say that because questions have not been asked yet and answers have not been given yet. So yes, this has got a ways to play out. Again, with the Brad, if there's any involvement in Brad Stevens, we don't know how long it could play out. So absolutely, it's all speculation. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I still would put money on the fact that one of these two men are going to be the next coach at Indiana. I think it will be Chris Beard or Brad Stevens. I really do. And I would have not a week ago. Hell, at the beginning of this week, I wouldn't have said that. But things change all the time because at a particular moment, things are leading to a certain conclusion, and it's legitimate at that time. But then all of a sudden, things will change, and people are, we got it. Dude, things change. It is a very fluid situation. I'm telling you, they always are. But I can guarantee you this: Chris Beard and Brad Stevens are going to be gone at hard. Brad Stevens first, and Chris Beard second.
Well, all you have to remember is if you go back to whatever year it was, 2017, 2018, when Tennessee was making a head coaching change on the football side, and I think they had about 7 or 8 head coaches before something actually was solidified and in place and the dotted line was signed. So you never know. Anything can happen. You're probably going to hear before this whole deal, especially if it's a coach currently coaching in March Madness, you're probably going to hear a few more names and a lot more speculation, because they're not going to sign a contract or talk with the media until after the tournament's over, or until their team's knocked out anyway. So you never really know, but it's interesting. It's a lot of fun. This is the fun part. Like, I mean, once you get the coach in place, then you know. But the speculation, I mean, I'm not going to report on anything. It does no good. It's just fun to kind of speculate and throw out different names. But I think that the thing that appeals to me, especially if I'm an Indiana fan, is the fact that Scott Dolson made this move and these owners made these moves knowing they had a guy in mind, or they had a top 3 list in mind, and knowing that there's a good chance that one of those guys is going to accept the job, because you can't.
Well, having a top 3 in mind,
do it.
The difference this time, though, and having a top 3 in mind is having a legitimate top 3 in mind,
right.
But B, having the resources to actually land them.
Right.
Scott Dolson knows about fundraising. He's spent decades doing it, but he's had a hand into. He's the first guy they've had as AD in way over 10 years that was actually groomed to be an AD. Fred Glass was a damn lawyer. And that's why I'm not a gigantic Fred Glass fan. He's a nice person, nice guy personally, but I think that way too many mistakes were made that were just horrific. He cost the university probably $50 million minimum, personally, $50 million. But that's not Scott Dolson. He is an AD. He knows from every angle. He has got experience across the board. He's worked with coaches. He's worked with everything. He has been so involved for so long, and that's part of the reason why the confidence is there. He knows what the hell he's doing. He should have been in charge. I promise you, I don't think he would have hired Archie Miller if he would have been the guy last time. I've never said it was a home run hire. Tori says, y'all talk about home run hires. I've never said it was a home run hire, and I've been saying for way over a year everything about Archie Miller right here. I never, it was just never, but yeah, you got to move forward. And I think it's going to be a great day and for everyone. So
the thing that to me about Scott Dolson too is you mentioned he was doing fundraising for years and years, and that's like if you're going to be an AD, that's like the perfect job because you have those relationships with those big time donors. So all you have to do is make a few calls and say, hey, I'm thinking about making a change. Would you support it? Would you help the university out? We can't do this on our own. And obviously he knew the two guys to call and get that deal in place so that way they could make a change. So, and you've already seen it with the football coaching situation. They were willing to nearly double the salary for Charlton Warren and for Dylan McCullough to come into the football program, and they were willing to restructure Tom Allen's contract to keep him in place. In like 3 months, or however long he's been in place officially, or since the end of the football season, he's done so much good already and has put Indiana in a great position, as you said, not just for basketball, but for the entire athletic department. And it's really hard to do that across as many sports as there are at any particular college.
I agree. Let's see. I want to make sure we're not missing a break. Matt Taylor is going to join us next from the Colts. Looking forward to that because we've talked about nothing this entire week. Yeah, that's a good comment. It's like an addict. We haven't even talked about the tournament much, but that gets started tonight in Simon Scott Assembly Hall in Bloomington. And the nightcap, well, that's the first game is Texas Southern and Mount St. Mary's. Ironic. Oh my God. Do you know how incredible this could have been? Do you know who used to coach at Texas Southern?
Mike Davis.
Mike Davis. I'm like, looked up into something. I'm like, oh my God. So we would have had Mike Davis, Kelvin Sampson, and Chris Beard coaching in Assembly Hall this weekend. Holy smokes. That would have been too funny. The guy that started it all. Really? Yep. I mean, Mike Davis is the first guy post night, and that started this deal. And then you could have had possibly the bookends of the last 25 years of futility for Indiana basketball. Hey, the nightcap at Simon Scott Assembly Hall is App State and Norfolk State. Nobody cares about that. Unfortunately, our interest will be drawn to Mackey Arena for the nightcap. Around 10 o'clock, UCLA and Michigan State, Michael Lewis and Dane Fife going at it. Mike was on with us yesterday. He's always a great friend to us, to the show, and super good guy. Dane was supposed to be on and didn't make it. So we're going to go against the Big Ten, and we're pulling for UCLA tonight. And Mike, since he joined us yesterday,
we got to hit a break soon.
Yes, we do. Let's hit a break now because Matt Taylor's going to join us next. We'll get to talk about the tournament more later, but get your picks in. And we should have done a mass, damn it, and we still can, a poll. But let's go ahead and hit the break. We got Matt Taylor coming up next. You're listening to us coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Boyd Studios. Brought to you by Andy Moore Honda Bloomington.
Welcome to your extraordinary destination.
I hate that commercial. There's always one commercial in the thing that I just cannot stand, and it is that one now. God, I hate that. That music. Gotta have something. Archie's gone. I gotta have something to jack my day up. Can't have all happiness.
Yeah, you can't have a good mood show.
I'd have to put a rock in my shoes. I'd have to go around just to put a rock in my shoe if that was the case. Man. I should have had Chris Denari bring Quinn Buckner on with him. He's a member of the board of trustees. I did speak with a board of trustees relative yesterday.
Yeah. Good news.
I just making that comment.
Oh. Okay. No backstory there.
Well, people, because there's so many. You have to work your ass off to find out information, and there's so many different ways that you have to do. People don't realize there's so many ways that you have to work hard to.
And
Every
to me,
source,
it's not
man,
even-
it's called developing sources.
To me, it's not worth it either. Like, if it's something
Like I said on
minor-
this, would it be like when they fired Archie Miller?
right?
That happened right when the show was ending, and we got a phone call at the end of the show while we were still on that somebody didn't take that was telling us that, because you don't take a phone call when you're on air. It was to somebody, but that had that information, and that really sucks to have. That would have been great, but it would have been quickly lost on who actually broke it, because the story
Exactly.
becomes so massive, it doesn't matter. Matt Taylor, how are you, sir?
Hey, what's up, guys? What you doing?
I'm doing great. How you been?
I am trying to turn down.
You're
my
fine. I'm
volume
just.
real quick. Hang on.
I heard that the Colts have a quarterback.
All right. Can you hear me
Yeah,
okay?
he's yours. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, where more means
All right, how about
more.
now?
More selection, more savings.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sillersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, brought to you by the number one dealer in Bloomington. Joined now by Matt Taylor from Indianapolis Colts. How are you, sir?
Hey, guys, what's going on?
Oh, not a lot happening. It's been a very boring week in the news cycle here in Indiana.
Not at all. Not at all.
We've been trying to talk to you about a quarterback for 3 weeks, and now we get that. We get a new coach at IU. It's all, everything's breaking at the same time.
Yep. You know, I always say that the month of March is one of the best sports months of the year, with the NCAA tournament. In normal years, the NBA is winding down and playoff seeds are starting to come to the forefront. I'm an NHL guy, so that's kind of heating up at the same time. Plus, you know, the NFL does such a great job of, we've talked about this in the past, they never completely disappear from the conscious of the sports calendar, if you will, right? Because you've got free agency, which is going on right now. The new league year started yesterday. The draft is coming up, so we're talking about that. Plus, the Colts have officially announced Carson Wentz's deal. We all knew about that 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago now when that trade came out, but now it's official because teams can ink it on the bottom line, put a contract in place. We can talk about it officially. So the month of March is just crazy chaos, but I love it because I'm a sports fan just like everybody else. So I've got one eye on the NCAA tournament coming up starting Friday, and then tracking all this player movement and free agency in the NFL as well at the same time.
Yeah, it's so much to take in and manage. It's kind of been how it's been for the Colts with all the tournaments. Is it nice to have the attention taken away and to have that drawn away? Because without all that, everybody's focusing on it. But there's so much going on inside of the state of Indiana right now. Is that a good thing, or does it matter neither way?
Well, you know, like for somebody like think of like the TV guys in town, like Chris Widlick from CBS4, Anthony Calhoun from Wish, Dave Calabro from WTHR in Indianapolis. Like those guys this month are certainly being put through the ringer because you've got the high school basketball tournament going on. There's a lot of Central Indiana teams still going, like Indianapolis Metro team still alive. Plus the NCAA tournament is all over the state of Indiana, so their crews are being kind of spread thin, plus what the Colts are doing in NFL free agency, covering press conferences, keeping track of the news there, and having features and packages put together to cover the Colts and the NCAA tournament. Like, yeah, those guys are being spread thin and working a lot of long hours this month for sure. It's kind of like the month of May on steroids, right? Because the month of May, you're at the track every day. You're covering the Pacers if they're in a playoff run. So it's kind of like that to an extent. But it's a lot of fun. For me, I just get to be a fan of the basketball. I'm covering the football stuff pretty intently. But it's a lot of fun because the Colts have the money to spend in free agency. As we know, it's kind of a catch-22. They've got the money to spend, but, man, it really doesn't go very far or nearly as far this year as it would have gone in years past with the truncated salary cap, with the revenue going down with the COVID-19 pandemic. So there's a lot of things the Colts have to consider because, there's players they want to extend and keep off the open market in years coming up down the road. But they also need to upgrade their roster at some key areas like we've talked about incessantly on this podcast. So it's always fun to see how prudent the Colts are in free agency, but also at the same time being aggressive in all of the right and calculated areas.
Yeah, and then of course Tim hit a message here up on the Facebook. Marlon Mack returning. That just came out yesterday, didn't it?
It did. So I think on paper right now, I think it's fair to say the Colts have maybe the most dynamic and complete running back situation in the NFL with Jonathan Taylor, who was third in the NFL in rushing yards last year, broke all kinds of rookie records rushing for the Colts. And then Marlon Mack, who is coming off a 1,000-yard season in his own right the last time he was healthy in 2019. And I was just so on a personal level very excited for Marlon Mack and happy for him because I think he earned it. I really do. It was really crummy luck on his part. Week one, the contract year, he tears his Achilles out for the year. And that's a really hard injury to come back from, but credit him and give credit to his character because he stayed in Indianapolis all year long. He was a mentor for the young Jonathan Taylor, stayed in Indianapolis, which meant he had to go through COVID-19 testing every single day. And, that's a sacrifice that he made to do the best for the team and be a mentor for a young guy. And I don't think that was unnoticed on the Colts. I'm not saying it's the end-all, be-all, but I think that kind of gets wrapped into one when you talk about Marlon Mack in terms of the player he is, the guy that he is, the professional that he is inside the locker room. Just really happy that he got a one-year deal and potentially can play well and get a workload in Indianapolis to the extent where he can reprove himself on the open market next year in free agency as well.
Yeah, and it's exciting to think of what, now that they have all the pieces kind of in place. I was talking earlier about the excitement surrounding Indiana sports because you've had all these sports that football has never been great. Now they're freaking unbelievable. And I truly believe they are going to challenge Ohio State for the Big Ten East next year. But you've got all the baseball, women's basketball, men's and women's soccer, all ranked. But basketball was bringing that down. Boom. And now the Colts, can you imagine? And the Pacers they're not great, but they don't suck. This is Indiana as a state. Purdue basketball is good. The sports in this state is about to really, and I'm talking about not just one. Like I said, the Colts, IU, Purdue, really about to get a bit higher, a lot higher.
And I think it kind of coincides with, what we're seeing on a business standpoint, downtown Indianapolis right now, being able to, pivot so abruptly. The NCAA had to put this thing together so fast, and they had to choose a market where they could set up a bubble or the closest thing to a bubble. And Indianapolis just fit the bill. And if there was ever a market to be able to kind of pull this off in a short amount of time with the logistics and the business and setting up the testing and finding places for teams to practice and rehab and all those things, Indianapolis is going to knock it out of the park. I don't have any reservations about that. And so it's just, from the publicity, the marketing, obviously, hopefully it kind of translates into a big business boom financially. Hopefully that's the case where millions of dollars are poured into the economics of Indianapolis, which I think it needs because of, what we saw last summer with the social injustice stuff and all the different cities across the country that were affected by that, plus the pandemic. I mean, so many storefronts. And I used to work downtown for 4 or 5 years, and it was some of the best atmosphere. I mean, it was just kind of, not to get too weird or cliche, but like working downtown, there was just a vibrance to it. There was just an energy about it where you could just walk around and you could just feel invigorated by just all that was going on down there. And you don't feel that right now, or at least you haven't, because of what we've been through as a country. So I hope that it can get back to that. I think it will. But there was a lot of places that I used to frequent, I used to go or walk by that it's not there anymore because of the business stuff that we've been through the last 12 months. So I'm hoping that all eyeballs across the country can get back on Indianapolis and people can start to understand again what a special place this is. And I hope the Colts do their part by winning games. And I hope we can have close to 100% capacity at Colts games next year at Lucas Oil Stadium. I think that would do a lot to rejuvenate the economy downtown, especially on the weekends. So I'm just incredibly confident and hopeful too that all of these sports teams that are building, as you said, generating momentum, can certainly help just the image and get people back downtown. Downtown Indianapolis is such a fun place to be when it's rolling and when it's safe and when it's the hub of not only the arts. You've got you have people that go downtown for all these different reasons. It's just fun when people collaborate, in the hub of the city.
Matt, you talk about the economics of it, and I agree with you, because and you've been to a lot of cities covering a lot of different games and working at 1070 The Fan at one point in your career. Do you think Indianapolis is in a better spot? Because what I say by that is, when you go to a Colts game and there's 100,000 people out, all those restaurants are within walking distance. You go to a Pacers game, all those restaurants are within walking distance. There's so much to do. I mean, I remember when I lived near the Indianapolis area, we would go and get tickets to a Pacers playoff game, but we would go at around noon and, we might visit the zoo. We might hit up lunch. You can do so much in downtown Indianapolis because it's all right there. Is it in a unique spot compared to other cities because everything is so close?
Absolutely. Downtown Indianapolis, it's kind of like it's 5 or 6 blocks north of the Monument Circle and then probably 3 or 4 blocks south. And that is probably, I don't know, 1.5 miles, 2 miles. And everything you need if you come into town is right there, especially if you're a fan here for a sporting event. Like, let's say you're a Wisconsin fan, you drive to Indianapolis to watch the Badgers in the Big Ten tournament. I mean, you don't even need, you can park your car. Like, let's say you're rolling on a Thursday and you stay till Sunday. You park your car. You don't get back in your car until it's time for you to leave. That's how it goes. You've got, shopping, you've got entertainment, restaurants, all the venues. I mean, you can go from Lucas Oil Stadium to Bankers Life Fieldhouse, and you can honestly make that walk by you go outside to get into Skywalk, and then you're not outside the rest of the time. You can get to those 2 different locations with different skywalks and underground tunnels. That's how calculated it was when they were kind of mapping this city and planning to be kind of a big sports hub convention town. So it's a really, really fun place to be. Selfishly, I love downtown because Indianapolis is such a big little town, if that makes any sense. I live about 10, 15 minutes away on the south side. I can take one road and be downtown Indianapolis for a Colts game in 15 minutes. And so selfishly, my wife and I, we always kind of make downtown kind of a special destination where we go out and if we want a little getaway, we'll get a hotel downtown and kind of you feel like you're away without being away, if that makes any sense. Right. So it's a really, really fun place to be. And 2021 was supposed to be a very special year in terms of sports and attractive things to the city with the NBA All-Star game that didn't happen. They were supposed to host the Big Ten tournament at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. That wasn't the case because the women were there, so they had to bump things over to Lucas Oil Stadium. They always have the Big Ten football championship game. They're going to host the national championship game there. They were supposed to this time next year. I don't know if that's still on the books or not. But there's they've hosted the Super Bowl in 2012. That was one of the highlights of my career professionally, was just being around the Super Bowl festivities and Radio Row and covering media day and getting to go to the game. I mean, that Indianapolis, I mean, people still, folks that cover the NFL that I talk to that come in for Colts training camp, they still rave about the 2012 Super Bowl and the job that the city did. So it's a very, very special place. I think it can get back to that, but I would just love to see the dollars be put back into the city so some of these storefronts and some of these restaurants can come back and we can get more people downtown gradually over time.
I think that it's safe to say, I can make this statement, Indianapolis is the greatest sports town in the world.
Yep.
And
don't forget about, I mean, we do the Indy 500 every single year. The world's
That's why I said
sports, the biggest event in the world is every year. We kind of take that for granted.
That's why it is the biggest sporting town in the world. And I can say that because you just added the Indianapolis 500, which is one of the greatest sporting spectacles that there is. But the fact that the NCAA is home in Indianapolis, the Pan American games, I believe, are in. I don't even know what all is. I have to go pull it up, but I know it is a list of places that keep their home in Indianapolis that are all sports related and important. Auto racing, it's auto racing capital of the world. It's just, there's just so much. Basketball, are you kidding me? It's not the birthplace of basketball, but it's the place where it got perfected.
Just the venues. I mean, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway now with Roger Penske's ownership and the investment that he's put in that facility. I mean, it looks brand new, and it's over 100 years old, as we all know. The Indiana Farmers Coliseum, I'm so excited for people nationally to be able to kind of see that venue and the amount of work that they put into that place, because that's a really fun place. I mean, it's got a lot of history, obviously, with the Indiana State Fair, and the Beatles played there. Elvis has played there. So, I mean, obviously it's home to IUPY. The Indy Fuel is a great time. I mean, if you're just looking for something fun to do on a Friday or Saturday, go watch an Indy Fuel game. I mean, it's good bang for your buck. You get to watch some good hockey. I know Indianapolis is not a great hockey town, but it has everything. It's got minor league hockey. It's got minor league baseball. Victory Field is unequivocally the best minor league baseball park in America. They do such a great job of keeping that up and renovating it and tweaking it and kind of keeping it up with modern times. They're doing the same thing right now with Bankers Life Fieldhouse. They're doing kind of phase 1 and phase 2 of some of the renovations and upgrades to that facility. Lucas Oil Stadium, hard to believe, is 13 years old now. So it's just top-notch stuff. It is. Yeah, it's just, I mean, I've been to every NFL venue. Lucas Oil Stadium is in the top 5 in terms of, amenities. It's easy to navigate. The fan experience is really, really good. It's affordable. If you're looking for, people always talk about, hey, let's do spring break. Where do we want to go? Do we want to go to Florida or California, or where do we want to do a ski trip? Man, Indianapolis is just a fun place, and it's everything's compact. It's right there. You talked about the zoo. We take the kids to the zoo all the time. We got the zoo pass. We can be there in 15 minutes, and we do that for an hour or two, and we're back home. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I'm kind of a shell right now for the city, but I really hope people nationally get a sense of how special this place is when they watch these basketball games and they do the big, blimp shots of the town. It's a really, really fun place to live.
Yep, it is absolutely. How's the baby?
Everybody is doing good. Baby is going to be a year old in 2 weeks, which is hard to believe.
Jeez, that is no way.
True story. Yeah, he was born a couple weeks into all the pandemic mess, and we're looking forward to that. He's close to walking, so we're excited about that. Everybody's happy and healthy. So
he's got a football in his hand yet?
Not yet. I don't know. Right now it's either baseball or basketball he's more drawn to in terms of the balls. But he's a good little man.
Well, that's perfect, man. I cannot be happier for you. So thankful to get to talk to you and to get to talk to us about things officially now. So, but
Yep.
Great. Enjoy the tournament, man. You looking forward to that?
I am. Like I said, I'll have 3 TVs going. I'll be, scouring Twitter for NFL free agent news at the same time. It's one of my favorite weekends of the year. People talk about, hey, should we go to Vegas and watch the games? Hey, do you, but I like to stay in town, have the TVs going, order a pizza. I'm right in my wheelhouse as far as that goes.
I was in Vegas one time for round 2. I was not working in the media at that time, and it was off the freaking chain. I will tell you, it was an absolute blast. It really was. I'm like, I got to do this.
I'd be
again.
broke in 5 minutes if I was out there. So
it wasn't that as much as you talk about having a couple TVs going. You're out there and you've got a bank, just bank TVs. You're watching every damn game at the same time, and you're betting on every game at the same time. And
see, I can't. If I'm out there, I'm not going to just watch. And I'm legally, I'm not allowed to bet. So I have to be self-disciplined about it. So that's how it goes.
At all.
At all. I cannot, with the nature of my job, technically an NFL employee, I cannot wager on sports of any kind.
I forgot about that. Well, man, I will let you go. Appreciate you so much. What a great transition. We're going to get to go from the voice of the Colts, Matt. We'll get to talk to Chris Denari next from the Pacers. But, Matt, thanks, brother.
Tell Chris I said hello. Be good, guys.
Thank you, sir. You have a great day. We're back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this. Brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, we all want more. No one gives you more for less than Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. And right now,
hello, Mr. Chris.
Hey, how are you doing, guys?
Ryan, I'm doing good. How are you? You surviving, or I guess you survived the West Coast trade. Now you're back to the East Coast, and God, that's so you had a West Coast trip, but you come back when the time change, and I know this time change has jacked my world up. I can't imagine.
But here's the thing, remember, I wasn't on the road, but I was doing.
Oh, that's right.
But I was doing those games at 10 and 10:30. So
yeah.
So I was on the air. I was getting home about 2:30 or 2:45 in the morning. So it's just even though you're not on the West Coast, you're still, it just makes it odd.
Well, and you add the time change, and I've been having, ever since the time change, my sleep has been jacked. And I mean, I'm up till 3 in the damn morning. It's aggravating me.
Well, what really gets you, I don't know if you have pets or dogs, but the dogs get out of sync with their food. They're looking at you like, hey, you're supposed to feed me. I remember back in the fall when the clock went back, we usually feed our 2 dogs somewhere between 4:30 and 6. And so it was like 3:30 and Walter was looking at me like, hey, Dad, where's the food? And I go, it's 3:30. But he thought it was 4:30.
Right.
Hey,
can I just start to turn? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What was you gonna say?
I was just going to ask Chris if I should just start turning off the games after the third quarter.
Yeah. These fourth quarters, I mean, at some point, he addressed it last night before the game. It was interesting because he said, it happens through the year. And then after the game, it was like, yeah, we have a problem here. Because that's 4 straight fourth quarters you had the lead. Now, you won one of them. But, it's, what happens, and maybe we'll talk about it, like Brooklyn. They switch everything almost 1 through 5. I mean, you'll see Harden down in the post garden, and it screws up a lot of teams, because we're at our best when the ball's moving, and when they're switching everything, it almost, you have to go to more isolation, and that's not one of our strengths.
And I saw you you talked about it on the broadcast last night. There was a point where Miles Turner kept yelling, "Move the ball" from the bench.
Yeah, exactly.
You can lodging that is out of this world, world-class golfing, and a premier resort experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick, West Baden.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sillersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Aye, oh, let's go. Aye, oh, let's go. Aye, oh, let's go. Aye, oh, let's go.
Welcome back to the Golf Club League Point Studios on this Thursday, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, joined now by our good friend Chris Denari from the Pacers. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you? Rainy day in the Indianapolis area. I don't know what it's like.
Oh, yeah, here too. Yep, here too. I woke up to thunder during the night, but that's good. That's thoughts of spring and growth and change, and there's all kinds of that going on right now in all kinds of places. The Pacers, including Karis LeVert, has made his debut since we've spoken last. It's had some benefits. Pacers kind of been up and down a lot. We talked in the break there a little bit about their fourth quarter woes, man.
Yeah, fourth quarter woes. I think it's in the 4 games. One of them is a win in Phoenix. They're minus 50 in the fourth quarter, and that comes after really having good third quarters. And last night it was a terrific first quarter. They scored a season high 40. They had a 15-point lead after one. They had a 16-point lead early second quarter. In the NBA, you know, those leads can go away pretty quickly, though, with the three-point shot and how talented these teams are. So, but the fact of the matter is, you go into the fourth quarter for a 4th straight game with a lead. You feel like, you know, this team at times is playing well enough they could have won all 4 of those games. Now, let's look at who those 4 teams were. The Lakers have the 3rd best record in the West. You were able to beat Phoenix, who has the 2nd best record in the West and having a great year. Then on Monday night, you played a team that's right around 4th or 5th in the West, very talented in Denver. You had the lead. And then last night, Brooklyn came in having won 13 of 14, hottest team in the league. No Kyrie Irving, no Kevin Durant, but they still have James Harden. He goes for 40, and you've got the lead going into the fourth quarter, and you can't get it done. So, you know, you try to look at things multiple ways. You try to be a realist. You also try to think, hey, you know, if somehow they can scrape a few wins together against this rugged schedule and set them up for the final 30-plus games, well, how will this team be? And, Jim, you made a great point. Karis LeVert has added a lot to this team, especially on the offensive end. He's had 13, 17, and last night he had 19. He's still finding his way. I mean, remember, he had kidney surgery back on January the 25th, and now it's less than 2 months later, and he's playing at the highest level you can play in basketball. So, just, you know, all teams go through this. It's been a big carryover for the Pacers. We haven't seen a team struggle like this probably since the 14-15 season. So it's a little different for us having to deal with this right now.
Yeah, and then you look ahead, and 5 out of the next 6 games are on the road because of the tournament and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so that's going to make it fun.
Yeah, I mean, back-to-back games with Miami, Milwaukee on Monday. Then you come home a week from last night and you have Detroit. And then because of the Sweet 16 being at Bankers Life Fieldhouse, you've got to go right back on the road. You got to play a really good Dallas team with Luka Doncic and Porzingis. So, you know, Dustin and I were talking during the break, you know, right now, if the game was 3 quarters, the Pacers would be unbeaten here in this last stretch of games. But they've got to figure out a way to take care of business and do a better job in the fourth quarter.
One of the things that I noticed from Karis LeVert's return, especially last night, is he seemed to know where guys were on the floor and not having played in so long and coming off that surgery. You know, that was one of the hiccups I thought he might experience. But the more he's played, he doesn't seem to be missing a beat. He seems to know the offense, know where his teammates are going to be. I mean, he had a really good connection with Domantas Sabonis, especially in those first few minutes of the ball game, finding him for open looks. So, silver lining is I think the outlook still looks really good. He's just still knocking off some of that rust.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dustin. I mean, I think that's one of the advantages of a lot of film study and the fact that he's been around his teammates for the better part of, almost 2 months. And I've said that I think that's the real story. You know, a lot of people, you know, I tend not to try to get on too much what I call Pacer social media. It would be the same thing with the Hoosiers, right? I mean, there's all kinds of Facebook and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's important for somebody like me to at least gauge how people are feeling, but you can get too down far the rabbit hole with, people saying you should trade this guy and get rid of this guy. I've been pretty bullish on this group. I want to see them have a chance when healthy. I want to see them with TJ Warren, and that's not going to be for a while. I want to see them with Karis LeVert truly, truly healthy and playing a major role on this team. And, unfortunately, they're just going through a rough spot. And, it sometimes things get worse before it gets better. And we'll just have to see what happens. But I really like this group. I just hope, and I think, unless something crazy happens, I really think that the front office also likes this group as well and wants to see what they can do when all the pieces are there together and working.
And then you got to look at going forward, the Pacers and the playoffs. They got to find the balance, as you talked about, and Karis LeVert find their rhythm. There's plenty of time left, but the playoffs are something that the Pacers are kind of a tenuous situation, and you can't go in to losing 1 out of 3 games and continue to do that and still have a shot at the playoffs.
Well, especially where you are now. I mean, right now you're in the play-in situation, and as we talked in the last few weeks, that's brand new to the NBA. They instituted it last year, where the top 6 automatically in each conference advance to the playoffs, and then 7 through 10 are in like a March Madness one-and-done situation. 7 plays 8, 9 plays 10. Whoever wins 7 and 8 is automatically in, and then the loser of that game, because they have a better record, they're 9 or 10, they get a chance to play the winner of 9 and 10 to see who's the number 8 seed. So that gives, I think one of the things that they wanted to do was create more drama at the end of the season, try to limit tanking, if you will, those teams that were putting themselves in better position for a high draft pick, because it's all based on record. And right now, the Pacers are in a spot they haven't been in some time. They're in 10th. They're not in the top 6. They're not even in the top 8. But if you go on a 5 or 6 game winning streak, all of a sudden you could be 4th or 5th. That's how close the Eastern Conference is. So I think that's one of the reasons the NBA did it. It's to allow more teams to have the opportunity at the end of the year to make a run to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, and as I'm trying to look over the schedule to see, do they ever get to make up of sorts that the offset of having to play so many road games? And I don't know that they really do they?
Well, I mean, it all will even out at some point. I mean, you play 36 at home and 36 on the road. And right now they've played 20 on the road and 19 at home. And with 3 straight on the road, they'll now have 4 more road games. And as you said, then it's home. They'll be in a situation where I think by the end of next week, they will have played 5 more road games than home games. So as they get toward the end of March into April and May, then they'll sort of catch up. The question is, where will you be from a record standpoint? And how much pressure will that put on you at home? And here's the big point, Jim and Dustin. Last night, the Pacers lost their 6th straight game at home. That's the longest home losing streak they've ever had at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. And it's the longest home losing streak since the mid-'80s. So it's not like the home court has been this place that, has been a benefit to the Pacers. And I think that's one of the things that we've seen in the NBA this year because of the lack of crowds, because of the lack of enthusiasm. The home court hasn't been worth as much. I mean, it's been the same really in college basketball. I mean,
sports.
Yes, absolutely.
Sports in general, I think.
Yeah. And so we want to go and look and say, hey, the Pacers are going to have all these home games in April and May, but unfortunately they haven't taken care of business at home. So I think all they can do, and I know it's cliche, but they just have to take it one game at a time. They've got to approach this next game and try to win that, and then you move on. As fans and media, we're looking to April and May and trying to do the projection thing. All the players and coaches can do is try to win that next game.
Now, you work with a man named Quinn Buckner, who does a lot of other things, one of which he's a member of the board of trustees at Indiana University, and of course the coaching thing that's going on there. And I can't imagine his phone, what his is like. I know what mine was like on Monday, so those type of people, I'm like, I can't imagine. And I'm not asking for like things like that, but does he even talk about the fact that that's something that he has to deal with, or he's talking about it and things like that?
Oh, there's no question he gets phone calls. I mean, I'm sure he gets lots of phone calls. And if you think about it, they're also going through a presidential search right now, right? And so he's very involved in that. That's probably taken a great deal of his focus as a member of the board of trustees. And now that there's a hunt for a new basketball coach, while he's not directly involved with that, he's more directly involved with hiring a president. I'm sure there's conversations. He's a former player. He's one of the legends. We always call him 32-0 because he's on the last unbeaten team in college basketball in 1976. I'm sure he has his eyes on Gonzaga right now. And he's the first to say that, while, being the last team to go unbeaten is special, he's more than willing to have somebody join the club. I mean, he's a believer in teams, and he's not one of those that says, put the voodoo hex on them and hope they don't win. He said, hey, if they can do it, more power to them. So yeah, I mean, I know he's very busy. He's got responsibilities with the Pacers. He has our telecast. I mean, he's definitely multitasking right now. I can tell you that.
And he's a lot more forgiving to Gonzaga than I am, because if they had played in, say, the Big 12, I'd probably, if it'd been Baylor, may not have liked it, but I'd have been okay with it. I'm like, nope, I'm not okay with playing out there in that Nancy conference, whatever, man. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting having all these games here. I know you're busy doing what you're doing, but man, they start tonight. And I think they're going to be fantastic. There's so much irony. Kelvin Sampson and Chris Beard, who are coaching in Assembly Hall. And I noticed just this morning, Texas Southern is playing there. That means they could have had Mike Davis in there as well, because that's where he came from. I was like, holy cow, can you imagine that? But I know you're busy. What's coming up next besides the broadcast? What do you do anything else media-wise that you were working on? I know it's busy enough.
No, I mean, I'm right after I get off here, I'm going to do a podcast with Doug Rice, who is the radio voice of PRN, Performance Racing Network. And I work with Doug during the Brickyard. And so we're going to do a podcast just talking about my career and those types of things, how I got involved in broadcasting. But I'll be like everybody else tonight. I'll be sitting here at my desk prepping for tomorrow night's game with Miami with those first 4 games on. Tomorrow, as I continue to prep, I'll have my TV on all day. I was hoping that I might get out to Hinkle because that's where I called so many games for so many years as the voice of Butler to see NCAA games. But I've got a game tomorrow, Sunday, Monday. So it's just as easy to throw all those games on the television and watch. But what a special month. We made the comment last night at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. In a span of 40 days, there are 43 basketball games there. And that started with the girls' state finals in February and ends with a Pacers game on April the 7th. So, what a month. I mean, we've never seen anything like this. To me, there's one city and state that can pull this off, and it's the one that we're in Indiana and Indianapolis. So I couldn't be prouder. I go way back, guys. When I worked at Butler and at the old Horizon League, I was involved in helping put these tournaments on. I was the media coordinator for the 1989 first and second rounds at the RCA Dome. And I've worked a lot of the Final Fours and all those kinds of things. So I know the kind of work that it takes to put these events on. And usually you have a lot longer to prepare. I mean, it was announced back in December or January that we were going to pull this off. So hats off to all the people involved. It's going to be a tremendous undertaking.
Yep, you hit the nail on the head, man. But that 40 games in 40 days, that's pretty cool, especially with all it encompasses because it covers everything, men's and women's high schools. And it ends appropriately with the high school state championship, the boys Indiana state championship. There's not a better cherry to put on top of this, I think.
No, that no question. I mean, and I've had the privilege before I got the Pacers job, I called the high school state finals for many years. And I remember the shot that Luke Zeller hit for Washington to win the 3A title when he, took a half court shot. So yeah, it's a special month, and hopefully, people can enjoy it, whether they're lucky enough to have a ticket or they watch it on television or listen on radio like most of us.
Absolutely. We'll let you go, man. We appreciate you so much. Enjoy your late nights.
All right.
And we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Chris Denari, the voice of the Pacers, joining us here. We got to take a quick break. Back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda right after this.
Hey, we all want more. No one gives you more for less than Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. And
Hello. All right. So we got to hit a quick break again when we come back, unfortunately, but we can go over a little bit after that. But okay. That's awesome. 40 games. What do you say? 43 games in 40 days?
43 games in 43 days.
We'll have to end the show next for radio.
What's that?
We won't hit another break. We'll just end it for radio, and then we'll go into overtime.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Man, after doing that's the one bad thing about doing shows like yesterday's, which are so overloaded. Then you come back and it's like, man, that wasn't as good. Yesterday was just so loaded. I normally don't have that many people, but plus Steve Green was just freaking awesome. I haven't gotten to talk to him before. I just can't believe that.
Did Brian hook you up with that?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I'm trying to think of somebody. All right, people listening right now. I'm trying to think of somebody from the Crean era to get on the show tonight. And Jordan would have been great, but timing does not work out for him where he is in Germany. So I'm trying to think. Derek is not available. I'm trying to think of someone from the Crean era to lend a voice to this discussion. And I'm like, all right, I haven't had time to. Damn it. I mean, Verdell, but Verdell's going to be playing on the next day. And
encounter with elephants and giraffes, lodging that is out of this world, world-class golfing, and a premier resort experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick West Bay.
this segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
It's alright. I'm dreaming.
welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington. Hey, you know what? You keep talking about. I have no idea. I have not been told who the donors were. but I have a good idea of who they are. I definitely know a pool that it comes from. There's no doubt. I mean, I can put some names in this little magical cup that I have right here, probably 4 names, and guarantee that the 2 names are in it. I'll say this: if I were you and you were in the state of Indiana and you're looking to purchase a car anytime soon, and you don't buy it from Andy Moore, you would be not doing Indiana University a very good service, personally, is my just opinion. That's just my personal opinion. My thoughts on that. Just saying. And who knows? Maybe that could help get a better coach. You never know. I mean, I don't know how those things work out, but somehow that one thing's correlate to another, you know? I asked for we're trying to put together a special show for tonight before UCLA and Michigan State go at it at about 10. Michael Lewis and Michigan State. I actually think Michigan State's going to win that game, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be a good game, though. I really think it's going to be a fun game. But I think Michigan State wins it just because they're playing better at the end of the year. UCLA lost a daggone a lottery pick early on. They would have been really good, and they've still been decent, but they kind of hit a deal in the middle of the season, and I don't know, they just didn't really quite recover. But I think Michigan State's going to win this one.
Well, I think Michigan State, too, you got to remember when they were on that winning streak, they were playing 6 games in 13 days, and that included games against Michigan twice, Illinois, Ohio State, Indiana, and then you go and you play Maryland. So you really play 7 games in about 18 days. So now they get a full week off since they last played. So this is a team that was playing well at the end of the season and now got a little bit of rest. They didn't leave Indianapolis. They just got to kind of, I don't want to say lounge around, but they were able to get off their feet a little bit. And now that they I think that they'll be in good shape to win tonight. And like you said, the way they're playing, the way Aaron Henry's playing, Rocket Watts, if he can get to the foul line, Joshua Langford, they got some good leaders on that team. And you never count out Tom Izzo in the month of March. Never. We've learned our lesson. Never count him out.
No, but speaking of Michigan State and number 1 seeds, Michigan, I think they're the first number 1 seed to go down now after a week ago or a week and a half ago, they were my pick to win the national championship. But now Isaiah Livers, that dream is out the door for me. But I've shifted to Illinois. They are on my bracket to win it. I am not going to allow Gonzaga to go undefeated and win a national championship. It will not happen on my watch. So I don't even have them in the Final Four. I have them getting beat. No, I do have them in the Final Four. There wasn't – I'll tell you the team I did not put in the Final Four that I really regret. I only did one bracket, but I'm going to go back and do one more today. I didn't put Ohio State in the Final Four. And, man, they gave Illinois fits. They would not go away in that Big Ten championship game. And I'm picking Illinois to win the damn title, so how can Ohio State? Ohio State they're stronger. They've gotten stronger. They're a team. I wish they had a better draw. Michigan's in a horrible draw on top of that. Ohio State's a team that can get there. I've got Kansas making it. I'm trying to think.
I had Florida State knocking out Michigan in the Sweet 16. The one thing that concerns me about Ohio State is they gave up double-digit lead in the second half 3 times. They escaped. They escaped Minnesota, Purdue, and Michigan. But that's the worrying sign for me going into the postseason. If they have Kyle Young, I think I feel a little bit better about Ohio State. But he provides a physical presence that they just don't have on the floor without him. I mean, I know they played a little tough. But that blowing a 13-point lead against Michigan and 2 18-point leads to Minnesota and Purdue, that's troubling.
I had the games pulled up that we have for today. Like I said, 2 of those are in Simon Scott Assembly Hall, and the other 2 are in Mackey Arena. The ones that are in Simon Scott, they suck. But of course, they're 16 seeds. Simon Scott got the 16 seeds and Mackey got the 11 seeds. So you got Drake. You got Drake in Wichita State.
They just paired it up at Assembly Hall with what they've been accustomed to seeing the last 4 years. Seems fitting, right?
Well, they're not too damn far off, I can tell you that. So you've got that, and then Hinkle comes into play tomorrow as Florida and Virginia Tech. Man, whoo! Starting things off hot at lunchtime. 12:15, Hinkle Fieldhouse. See, that's you heard Chris Denari talking about it. I'm so distraught that I don't get to go cover these games. I don't get to go to any of these freaking venues, any of these effing venues, because Indiana's not in and COVID has. In any other year, even though Indiana did not make it, I would still be able to go cover this tournament. But COVID has just cut our life out. Oh well, there's a high school tournament going on this weekend. Don't forget the semi-state. Four different spots: Washington, West Lafayette, Seymour. I forget where the other one is. Bloomington and Lawrence North going at it, and Seymour. We got the other 4A game up in West Lafayette. Man, we got so much basketball. Illinois taking on Drexel. Oh, that's not till Friday. The Indiana Farmers Coliseum too. That's another. Oh, you know what? I would have gone and seen to see a game in each of these venues. And somebody will get to do that. Some national guy will get to do that, but it won't be any of the local people, and that sucks. But that would have been cool to see a game in Assembly Hall. Mackey, Farmers, Hinkle. Come on, man.
Awesome.
It would have been. Where are we? We got to take a quick break. Actually, we got to end the radio side of the show. Let's do that, but we'll continue on in the overtime period. If you're listening on the radio side, can't thank you enough, man. Appreciate you guys more than anything. You can always make sure you sign up at YouTube. It's no cost. It's just so you can always be alerted at Indiana Sports Beat Radio on YouTube. That's people. It's just becoming more and more popular. But thanks to everybody. Thanks to Chris Denari. Thanks to Matt Taylor. Of course, Dustin Studi. We got another one coming up tomorrow. Verdell Jones, Dean Garrett is going to be on tomorrow. And then tonight we're working on a special about 9 o'clock. AJ Guyton and some others. I'll have that information later on. But go out, wear your mask, do something nice for somebody until tomorrow. I will see you on the radio. Okay, everybody, a lot of names up there, but I'm not going to be able to get Victor or Cody especially this late. Will he doesn't like to do a lot of media, but I am going to ask him. That's a good one. I don't think I can get Watford, but also I'm thinking more of an Indiana who's an Indiana person that was in, like I said, Jordan is obvious, the great answer, but it's not going to work out. Yeah, I can't get Cuban. I don't have that my Rolodex does not go that deep. Hey, I've had Tom Crean on the show. He was gracious to. You know what? Yeah, Tom Crean came on. Guess who did not? Guess who was never on this show? The only major head coach in Indiana. Exactly. No. Only major head coach in Indiana that was never on this show. Only. Hell, I had Matt Painter on this show. Tom Crean on this show, but not Archie Miller.
Doesn't surprise me one bit.
That seemed to be a great plug for a car dealer. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying. You want to throw some thanks around, I would guess that would be a tremendous way to show who's your spirit. I'm just saying, because I think he has dealers all over the place. Well, I know he does. And all kinds of Honda, Hyundai, Chevrolet, whatever you want. I'm just saying, I bet, people are always asking, man, how can we help? How can we help? I think that would help a lot. That's just a guess on my part. Now, I'm just totally guessing, but there you go. Mike Davis, I don't think I can't remember if I've had Mike. I don't think I've had Mike on, but I would like to, but he's not someone's going to come on now. Yeah, Sampson. Yeah, let's get him on. He's in town. Now, Lance Stemler is actually a possibility, but Lance Stemler is not from Indiana. He was here for 2 years. I was trying to think more someone, more attached to Indiana, like a Jordan Hulls. But damn it, I wish he was here. He's in Germany though, and he's 7 hours in front of us. So at 9 o'clock, it would be 4 a.m. over there. So
that would be a problem.
But that's what we're looking forward to doing tonight at 9, or around 9, and so prepare for that. We'll get that out today. There's just not a lot more to talk about today. There's nothing going on really. Everything's back channeling. I'm serious about. I'm going to be shocked if those two guys are not the next head coach. I've said it. Indiana, no margin for error. 0. Got to go out and do it. These donors are sick and tired of this BS. The fans are sick and tired of this bullshit. Everybody's tired of it. It's sickening. It was seriously like a cloud lifted when this happened. It's been it's mind-boggling. I don't want to feel joy over someone's misfortune, but I don't really care that he got fired. He's walking out of here with $30 million. Gee, be Christmas. Yeah, cry all the way to the freaking bank.
Yeah, I was going to say.
No, I'm not sorry.
He got $10 million to walk away. I don't think he's doing too bad for himself. And Richard Pitino got fired at Minnesota. He was unemployed for like 12 hours before he got the job at New Mexico. So,
I didn't know he had a job already.
Yeah, it was literally like they announced it at 10 a.m. Or 10 p.m. It was officially from Minnesota that he had been terminated, and then by 11 a.m. the next day, New Mexico had announced, or Jeff Goodman of Stadium reported that Richard Pitino had signed a deal to be New Mexico's next head coach. So
I've been in these guys stuff so much.
These guys they're fine. It's never great to talk about them getting fired because you don't know what's going on with their situation. But when you walk away with $10 million to leave a job, you'll probably do it okay.
And when I see all these, not people, but certain sites, it's just, I mean, that's the kind of bullshit they've been talking all 4 years when Archie was here too. And I'm like, no, you're here for a reason. You're paid handsomely to do that,
right? And
failed miserably. No, I do not feel sorry for you. You were given, if they'd have taken the money away, sure, then I might feel sorry. They didn't. They gave you $10 million to freaking leave.
Right.
No, there is no empathy here whatsoever. None. Right. If you want empathy, then you shouldn't have been such a dick. If you want empathy, I'm not kidding. If you want empathy, then maybe have a personality, get a personality transplant with all that money you got, because you need one. It's probably why you can't recruit the people you need to recruit.
Well, but he's and the thing is, the other part of this is too. He was fine at Dayton. I mean, he wasn't great. He's not, what we saw.
Everybody wins at Dayton. Go back and look at Dayton. There's 4 or 5 coaches that were successful, got hired to bigger positions, and they all failed.
Point being is that he's going to get another head coaching job at a smaller school. That's my point on that. He's not.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I mean, it may not. He may not be next, but he'll find another head job. Just like I said, just like Mr. Pitino. Some of these guys, especially with the connections they have. I mean, Pitino got hired because he did all right at Minnesota, but also because his dad's been in college basketball for, I don't know, since the beginning of time. Archie Miller has a brother named Sean Miller that's still the head coach in Arizona. He's going to get another job, or at least become an assistant coach.
That connection may be running a little thin right now.
Maybe, but they don't. I'm telling you, they don't care. They would have done something by now if they cared.
Well, no, it's LSU is in the same boat. The fact that
LSU,
see the fact that they're playing in the freaking tournament. That's a subject for tomorrow, and I'm writing it down right now. The fact that LSU is Auburn. Did Auburn make the tournament?
No, they're on the 1-year suspension, I believe.
Okay, so and Arizona took themselves out. You got Kansas. LSU and Kansas are probably the 2, and you've got Oklahoma State, who had to appeal to get in, right?
Yep. I believe so.
So
Something weird like
those
that.
three
I didn't follow
teams,
it as much.
but those two specifically, Bill Self,
Well,
but no one like White at LSU. The fact that they're playing the freaking tournament, he's in his, that is just,
the
just
fact that
gripes
the
my
fact that
ass.
Will Wade is still that he's still
Coaching.
the head coach. Yes.
That's why I'm saying it doesn't matter, because you've still got Sean Miller's the damn head coach.
Right.
And
exactly.
It's nuts. But this stuff has been going on in LSU for 2 seasons at least. Rick Pitino, never charged with anything, is the only guy to get fired.
Yep.
And he was fired, left the country, went to Greece, won in Greece, comes back, gets a job at a mid-major. Iona was a number 9 seed in their conference tournament, and because he's a freaking coaching genius, gets their ass into the tournament. That's what a coach does. You can talk about his other crap, and I'm not saying that he doesn't have it. From a coaching standpoint, it's kind of like Bob Knight. These guys are freaking savants. I don't care. Joe Hinton, the head coach at my high school, he is a coaching savant. I think he would have survived at any level. He just does, but he won 500 games in high school at Floyd Central, but he left there and went to other places, but it did not matter. If it was a small school, they won. He coached 8th grade one time. Freaking, they were just killing people. It did not matter. And his wife is a coach, so they started coaching girls, killing people. Coaching matters. I'm just telling you, it's unbelievable the difference the right coach and a good coach makes. It's
right.
Unbelievable. If you haven't played athletics and if you haven't played it at a higher level, it's harder to understand. But it's not just common sense. There's so many things that make it so.
Right. Well, and look at, this is to me the biggest indictment is that I know you have said before that recruiting has been an issue at Indiana under Archie Miller, but they still got some really good players. And you look at some of these other schools in the Big Ten, you mentioned Rick Pitino at Iona. I mean, good coaches can develop mediocre 3-star talent out of high school and develop them into at least a tournament team. He wasn't able to turn 4- and 5-star guys into a tournament team at all or a Big Ten contender. So I think Indiana is always going to have the allure for a recruit. They're always going to get the attention of 4- and 5-star guys. It's what can you do with that talent? And that's what you have to ask yourself. That's why you say guys like Chris Beard. I mean, Brett Stevens wasn't outside of Gordon Hayward. I mean, he got some good players, but it wasn't like those were the top 5 players in the country at Butler, and he got them to back-to-back national title games. So all it takes is the right guy, and basketball recruiting to me doesn't matter nearly as much as it does in football. Because if you have a good coach and you have guys that are willing to stay, 3 to 4 years, yeah, it helps to have maybe a guy that's going to be there 1 or 2, be a one and done, or a guy that can fill up the bucket. But you just need to get a guy who has a proven track record, and that's why you're so high on Chris Beard or Brad Stevens, because those guys have a proven track record, and they're not John Calipari. They don't need the 4 of the top 10 guys in the recruiting class to win. They can do it.
I agree.
They're great developers of talent.
And that was another key. Robert Vaden's a great name. I don't have a contact for him, but this is another name I had forgotten or I thought of and forgotten. But that is one that I am definitely going to try to reach out to. That would be incredible to have. I'm trying to do a cross section. I had Steve Green on yesterday, and that was just fucking fantastic. But I would like to get him back on for that show with Brian, with AJ, and with James Blackman Jr. Those 4, man, that would be a perfect cross section for me. We'll see if we can get that done. Boom, boom. All right. So I think that should really, if I had a contact for Yogi, I'd get him, brother. I don't have everybody. It's tough, but man, it's going to be a fun one. We'll get the information out as soon as I can about tonight's show and UCLA, Michigan State tonight. So that's going to be fun. But tomorrow we got Dean Garrett. I'm interested in talking to Dean Garrett. He's not an Indiana guy, and he was a 2-year guy, but he was a key piece on the last national championship team. I tried to get Keith, but I didn't hear back from him. But anybody that's even considered a candidate, I've been careful to not reach out to, because they're not going to they're not going to talk at the moment. So and I understand that, but so it's a line you have to walk. Man, thanks. I want to thank everybody, of course, the fans, most importantly, man. Without you guys, and continue spreading the word of this YouTube thing, man. People are loving it, and I love it, because I love seeing. It's a lot more fun seeing and doing this. So it's love doing that. Spread the word. Let people know. Sign up. There's never going to be a cost. It's just, when I say subscribe, it just sign up. It just alerts you to when the shows are on there. And we'll keep doing it, man. We appreciate you guys. Dustin, I can't thank you enough, as always.
Yes, absolutely. It's always fun. Always fun.
Anything you got anything coming up the fans need to know about in regards to Big Ten football?
We just have spring football coverage. We have plenty of March Madness coverage. This is the most we've ever covered it. I just wrote a story about ranking which teams have the best chance. All the Big Ten teams have the best chance of snapping that 21 season national championship drought. That's a big thing I have. But yeah, spring practice and March Madness. That's what we got going on.
Well, we got plenty of it, man. The games are on now. Let's commence. Well, if you're listening on radio, well, no, you're not, because we're already off radio. I should have said that. So they start at noon. Let the games begin. I love it.
Right.
Thanks to everybody. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you tonight, one way or the other. Wear your mask. Do something nice for somebody. Until tonight, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you guys on the radio.